We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do us well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Make sure you ring that notification bell. You don't know when we're coming on live next. If you want to support this independent national rebel outpost of college football with a donation, just hit that $ where you make a comment and I'll get you super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. It's always interesting. The last couple of days have been incredibly interesting. If you remember about a couple of months ago, I believe it was a couple of months ago. I could be wrong. It could have been a month ago. I have no idea. It could have been a week ago. We had a live show. You can go to our library of live shows, and you'll be able to get the date. But somebody went into that. We did a live show on the Florida State money perch. He had not spoken to us in many, many, many months. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, he gets a hold of us. And he says he's optimistic about the future for the first time in a long time, in about a year and a half. And so I dropped everything and we did that show. And we talked about it. We went through some of his communication back and forth. That was a Friday night. I remember that. That was a Friday night. We did a live show. Monday morning, War Chant puts out an article information describing Michael Alford and other Florida State leaders having a powwow, having a meeting, and I don't mean it, that was not no pun intended, with the Seminole leadership. Boosters basically saying, feeling pretty good, we're feeling pretty good. And Michael Alford, the athletic director, said something to the effect of, the next 24 months is really, really, really important about the future of Florida State and the next realignment and all that. So the Florida State money perch come to us Friday. We put that live show on as quick as we possibly can because we know the track record of the Florida State money perch. It is spooky. And we know who he is. You don't, but I do, and that's just going to have to be good enough for you all. Then yesterday, I got a live show all ready to go. I had OBD done, a very valuable member, very generous member of the PATC community, helping us keep the lights on. I had him in our next artwork for the next title screen. It was going to be the Big Ten and SEC versus everybody. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, the Florida State money perch, I was told, I don't get his information directly, but it comes to me through BTM and his associates. And basically, the Florida State money perch is talking to us, like telling us Florida State has this belief that a quick strike is on the table. And from their perspective, there's only a handful of schools that can be prepared to be able to benefit from this quick strike from the Big Ten and the SEC if it materializes. We did a live show on it yesterday. I don't want to go back and do the whole thing again because we got different. We're going to push the story even further today, but I just wanted to go back a little bit. And if you missed the live show, you should probably go back and watch that live show. So I'm sitting here with all this information, and now I got to make a decision. And I know on December 26th of 2022, February 24th of 2023, December 19th of 2023, and all this other stuff, that if he gives us information, it's probably best that I get it out as quick as I possibly can. Not that he, again, he's given us the information of what Florida State perceives the situation. He's also the guy who told us that the athletic director was going to say something a couple months after December 26th in pertaining to the ACC, December 26, 2022. And basically 2 months later, February 24th, Michael Alford, 2023, did exactly what the Money Perch said. And there's other examples of it. We went over it on the last live show. So yesterday I'm sitting here going, well, I got to scrap everything because I got to get this information out to you all as quick as I possibly can. And I explained yesterday, that's sort of what we do here because we don't know where this is leading to. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we have a pretty good idea. But we wanted to get that information out to you because, quite frankly, nobody else is going to. I shouldn't say that. Very few other people are going to be able to get that information out to you. And just like a couple of months ago or a month ago or whenever it is, the Florida State Money Perch is telling us there's a reason to be optimistic about Florida State potentially landing in the Power 2. And then over the weekend, all that news information came out that, yes, Florida State did have this meeting. And they talked about it. Last night, we did a show. This morning, the University of Miami's president you can go ahead and interpret it however you want to interpret it. I'm going to interpret it the way I believe that what he was really saying. Basically, the University of Miami president is giving everybody a warning. He's using a different language than the Florida State Money Perch, but he's basically saying he is suspicious about a quicker than normal next realignment. He talked about the example of Oklahoma and Texas, where there would be a quick strike. He did not use the phrase quick strike. That was the Florida State Seminole Money Perch words. But basically saying that it could be like he's suspicious that it could be somebody who announces that they're going somewhere else, but they're going to have to play it out in their current conference for more than a year. It could be 2 years. It could be 3 years. So, the University of Miami president said what he said on the Joe Rose Show. We covered that on episode 509. If you haven't watched it yet, go ahead, watch episode 509. As you can imagine, I have been inundated with a lot of comments. And I thank you all for all your comments and everything. There was a couple of really important information that I have received from chatter behind the curtain since I dropped that episode and since I did the live show last night. If you remember, if you go back, if you wanna, have evidence of this, go back to last night's live show, and you will see us peek around the corner. I reported to you that the Florida State information wasn't just Florida State's perception, but that this was all percolating, this quick strike scenario was percolating among a handful of ACC schools. That this was not just an isolated, Florida State thinks this, but nobody else thinks this. No, that's not what last night's show was about. And this is why we get the information out as fast as we possibly can, because as I said yesterday, that was live, real-time information. You don't have to agree with it. You do whatever you want with the information. But we delivered it to you as fast as we possibly could. And the reason we do that at Peek Around the Corner, if the person has a track record, it's credible, we know the person, all that stuff. Because we don't know what's going to come next. We want to get the dot out there so we can connect the dots. No reason for PATC to keep that down on the down low. I wasn't burning any sources. This person gave us all the room and space that we needed. And sure enough, this morning, the Miami president basically is saying he is suspicious that this is going to go the way of Oklahoma and Texas, where there is an announcement, but the schools don't necessarily lead to the new conference right away. We are going to talk more about that on this live show. We covered it in 509. I know a lot of people have not seen it. Go ahead and watch. A lot of people have seen it. But go ahead when you got an opportunity. Please go give it a watch. Man, so while I'm doing that, there's other stuff that is percolating, going on. I'll try to get all to that later on in this program. Again, nothing is done. Nothing is imminent. If there is something done, and if there is something imminent, then we at Peek Around the Corner have failed you. Because we do not believe anything is imminent, nothing is done. A lot of talking, a lot of NDAs, and now the talk is, what if these two separate super conferences? Now that is the lingo that we're going to use here at Peek Around the Corner. It's not a super league. They are separate. SEC and the Big Ten are separate. But they're looking at themselves. Everyone else is going to be looking at them as some super conferences. Two separate super conferences. What is the effect of Cantwell and Cruz's bill on those two super conferences? Is it an early takeoff? Is it a quick strike to expand the conference as they do their early takeoff? In other words, breakaway. Is that the ultimate outcome of the Cruz-Cantwell bill? Have you guys, have you all been listening to Ross Dillinger on that podcast with Danny Staples and the other gentleman that I can never remember the name? Go listen to the last one today. That was dropped. I mean, Ross Dillinger, Yahoo Sports, has never been this aggressive. When one of the other people on the podcast are talking about this breakaway, about this super conference or super league, whatever language they're using, Ross Dillinger is sitting there going, he's got that smirk. Ross Dillinger is basically reporting that this bill, this effort, is causing a rift right through the Power Four conference. And I'm not blaming the ACC and the Big. We're just telling it like it is. It's been DEFCON 1 for months. Now it's being quite evident. Everybody's picking up on it. And you may look. You can disagree with everything I'm saying on this show. That is fine. Put in the comment section, super chat. I'll be able to read what you are disagreeing with me about. I'll put in a super chat. You put in the super chat, I'll read it. Give me a phone call later on. You can disagree with the Big Ten and the SEC all you want. You can disagree with the Big 12 and the ACC all you want. But I'm telling you, I'm just giving everybody this warning. The Big Ten and the SEC looks at this bill as their destruction. That's how it is. That's how they perceive it. Because ultimately this bill doesn't do a whole hell of a lot. At first, there is no mandatory pooling. At first, all these protections that the Olympic sports and everyone's supposed to get doesn't get triggered unless there is all this pooling of media rights. This bill, you still can have students suing everybody, the student athletes. It's in the bill. This bill doesn't do anything except for begins to strip away the sovereignty of the conferences, starting with the Big Ten and the SEC. That's how the Big Ten and the SEC look at it. Cruz and Cantwell know that that's how the SEC and the Big Ten look at it. They know that they know that they know that they know that they know. Cruz and Cantwell didn't even budge on anything that the Big Ten and the SEC wanted change in the new markup of the bill, except for the rev share being the rev share cap, the rev share money not having to go through NIL Go, which all the conferences agreed upon. So Cruz and Cantwell changed that part of their bill, where they were going to treat the rev share money going directly from the athletic department to the student athletes. They wanted to change it to make it like an NIL situation. But that new change has been stripped out of the bill. Other than that, nothing that the SEC and the Big Ten wanted change was changed. So if this bill looks like it's going to get 60 senators, and then I don't know how this would happen, but if it looked like it's going to pass the House, there are schools out there. There are leaders out there. There are money perches out there. There's more voices now that this is out in the open. I got another person who has come forward. This is what happens. This is what happened in the USC story. This is what happened in the Colorado story. My God. When I talked about the hot bubble of action, I had some of the information on that meeting that Colorado, the Big 12, were going to do in Chicago. I did not have all the information, but by the end, before that May 7th and Sunday in Chicago, I had everything about that meeting. Because when somebody knows that you know, and they got information, and they want to trade bones, we don't have to go through how the sausage is made, but I don't know where I'm going with this. Let's just put it this way. We are very busy here at Peek Around the Corner, and we're going to continue to do the best we can to give you the peek of what is happening without burning any bridges, without burning any sources, so we can harvest the field over and over and over again. We got some information on the college football playoff of 24. Army of 24, hold your positions. We're going to go through that. We have a spotlight, I think on the 52nd, 53rd team. Let's take a look. It is the Kansas State Wildcats. Ladies and gentlemen, the 53rd team under the spotlight during this offseason, the Kansas State Wildcats. Where do you have them finish in the Big 12? Can they compete for the Big 12 championship this year? Avery Johnson, Joe Jackson. We're going to go through the Kansas State Wildcats spotlight. We're going to start there. We're going to talk about the college football playoffs, 24 teams. Hold your position, Army of 24. And then we're going to get back into the University of Miami president, Miami situation, the Florida State money perch. More information is arriving here at Peek Around the Corner. But first, let's start off with some very kind super chats. Larry Andrick, $5 holler. My goodness. $30 months member. Wow. Larry Andrick, the legend. The legend PATC family member. I want to congratulate my Mountaineers on a great season. Go Ears, go Ears. Fantastic season for the Mountaineer baseball team. Absolutely fantastic. An incredible season for West Virginia. Unbelievable. All that joy. West Virginia Mountaineers College Baseball World Series. Fantastic, Larry. Absolutely fantastic. West Virginia baseball is not going anywhere. It's had some pretty good seasons lately. I know a few years ago they had that star pitcher, went to Major League Baseball. West Virginia baseball not going anywhere. Congratulations, Larry. Congratulations. Thank you for the $5 holler. I appreciate it. Daniel Gorby, the Seminole. $5 holler super chat. Future conference announcements by next June 1st by ACC teams. 28 season realignment effective 2028. Corresponds to Alfred's comments, changes in 2 years. True. I mean, if you file your notice of withdrawal on or before June 1st, 2027, you can join the next conference on July 1st of 2028. Absolutely. And Michael Alford said the next 24 months are very important and all that. What the Miami president was alluding to is we could see a situation in which a school announces that they're leaving their conference to join another conference, but they might not join the other conference the next year. They may have to play in the conference for 2 years or maybe 3 years. That's what I think that's what the big news, the University of Miami president said. Unsolicited, just said it. Joe Rose, did his radio show interviewing Joe Echeverria, the president of Miami, basically saying, the SEC and the Big Ten are threatening this breakaway. You might, President, that North Carolina and Miami and a few other ACC schools will probably be really good candidates to get picked out by the SEC and the Big Ten. And then the president answered by saying, I am suspicious that it's going to end up like the Texas-Oklahoma, where Texas and Oklahoma announced that they were leaving the Big 12, but it took a couple of years playing in their current conference to play in the next conference. That it would not happen the year after. What happened with Texas and Oklahoma was very unique, right? USC, right? An incredibly valuable brand, football, athletic department, university, location, market, everything, right? They waited all the way up, June 1st, June 30th, 2022, and they were in the conference the following year. It's happened like that almost all the time. Washington and Oregon quickly happened. That was on August 4th, I think. Play the next year. So what I believe the University of Miami president is saying, there is a reason why he brought that up. The example of Oklahoma and Texas. There's a reason why he is suspicious of that. There's a reason why the Florida State money perch has been hearing this inside his corridors and knowing that a handful of other ACC schools believe this to be the case. There is a reason why the Florida State money perch told us what Florida State believes is the quick strike candidates. There may be a developing reason. Why the Big Ten and the SEC has to do this next expansion, which they really want to do. Don't know if they're going to be, who knows what's going to happen in this world. But there may be a developing reason why the next expansion that they do is going to have to be very unique. The SEC's last expansion was unique. Texas and Oklahoma. They may have to do it again for different reasons. And the reason is the Cruz Cantwell Protecting College Sports Act, plus the breakaway, plus everything else that's going on. That there might behoove the two conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC, it might behoove the schools that want to jump, that's making all these arrangements, that's showing all this stuff. It might be advantageous for the SEC, the Big Ten, and these handful of candidate schools to do the announcement, even though they're not all ready, the deck chairs are not all lined up, to do the announcement, to get it grandfathered in, but you don't necessarily leave your conference now to join it next year. You might have to wait 2 years. You might have to wait 3 years. The Florida State Money Perch gave us information. I gave you as much as I could in emails. I gave it to as fast as I could. The next morning, the University of Miami president gives us, out of nowhere, this unsolicited, I am suspicious that it's going to go the way of Texas and Oklahoma. Why are you suspicious that that's going to happen? Why do you think that is going to be a need to happen? Is it because, I'm just speculating, is it because Miami's got some information that leads the president to say this in a very generic way? To say, look, I'm suspicious that there might be schools that announce, but they don't leave the next year. Did Miami have some sort of conversation with the Big Ten? And the Big Ten says something to the effect of, well, we're not looking to expand right now. We got all these issues and everything, but Miami, you might have to get yourself ready just in case. You might have to this might go a certain way. You might want to get yourself ready. Did Florida State get some sort of tip-off, some information, some communication from the SEC and the Big Ten saying you might have to, you might just have to get yourself ready just in case we have to do this thing in which none of us are really prepared for? You might have to stay in your current conference more than a year after you announce. Are you ready to take the heat? Are you ready to take the heat if we have to do that? Duke might have gotten this information. North Carolina might have gotten this information. North Carolina State might be sitting there going, what the hell? It looks like things might work out for us. Who knows? We're still a long shot. Maybe Georgia Tech, maybe Utah, maybe Kansas. I don't know. But it is not by coincidence. It's not by luck. I have been doing this way too long. It just not... The Florida State Money Perch did not come out and open up. And then the University of Miami president said this. They're talking the same thing. They're just using different language. But they're both basically saying there's a handful of candidates out there for Big Ten SEC. Nothing is imminent. I don't think nothing is done. But they might have to get themselves ready. They might have to be prepared just in case the Big Ten and the SEC have to do something quicker than they anticipated. I think that's what this is all about. We'll go back into it. Thank you, Daniel Gorby. Thank you for the $5 holler. Christopher Hooter, Super Chat, $5 holler. The irony, Senate legislation may actually accelerate Big Ten and SEC realignment as opposed to slamming the brakes, the law of unintended consequences. Thank you so much, Christopher Hooter. Thank you for the $5 holler. Again, there might be the quick silo, the slow expansion. It might be where the Big Ten and the SEC say to themselves, woo, we got to break away. And we got to completely break away from the NCAA. But we can't quite do the expansion yet because we don't have our own rules. We got to figure out if it works. We got to figure out all this stuff. But maybe, just maybe, the tide has turned a little bit in which the Big Ten and the SEC have to acknowledge that this bill, the efforts to destroy the Big Ten and the SEC by the hands of the government, their perception, SEC and the Big Ten, it's not going away anytime soon. It's not going away after the next election cycle. It's not going away. It ain't going, even if this bill fails, it ain't going away. The game plan is out there. Smash Capital's not going anywhere. Cody Campbell's not going anywhere. The whole DEFCON 1 of 4 or 5 months ago, it was real. It was absolutely real. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. Thank you for the $5 holler. We got John Grove. Every man a Wildcat, $5 holler. I was hoping you saved the best for last in the Spotlight series, but 53rd will do. Every man a Wildcat, John Grove. I hope you enjoy it because we're going to go to it right now. Let me know, John, and every other Wildcat out there, man or woman, let me know how wrong I got it once again as we do the Spotlight on the Kansas State Wildcats. And I'll get to the other comments as soon as I possibly can in the chat room. Again, you know how it works. Later on the program, we go to your phone calls. The floor is yours. Super chats. The floor is yours. The other comments, I will get to the best I can. I'll pick them out related, how interested the comment is to the subject we are talking about. Again, Kansas State Spotlight, College Football Playoff, 24 teams, Army of 24. We are going to go in the latest news on that. And then we're going to go back into the University of Miami, the president, and the Florida State Money Perch. All right, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, bam! College Football PATC Spotlight Series. The Kansas State Wildcats. Quarterback Avery Johnson. All right, here we go. This has got to be the year for Mr. Johnson. The development has to be there this year. Almost 2,400 yards passing last year, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That completion percentage has got to go up. It cannot be sitting at 59.8 anymore. It's got to be in the 64, 65% completion percentage. Avery Johnson has got to develop that accuracy. 132.5 quarterback rating, that's got to go up 20 points. 477 yards rushing, 4.4 average per rush, 8 rushing touchdowns. Avery Johnson is a threat using his legs. This has got to be the year for Avery Johnson. This has got to be his year. Now the offensive line, they're going to piecemeal this thing together. Who knows how successful it's going to be? They did lose their offensive line. And, we'll get to the defense in a moment. Running back, Joe Jackson. 911 yards rushing. Ran all over the Utah Utes. 5.4 average per rush. He was a monster by the end of the season. 8 rushing touchdowns. 22 receptions. 119 yards receiving. 5.4 average per reception. 1 receiving touchdown. Joe Jackson, he came on strong. He came on strong by the end of the year. Came out strong. Can Joe Jackson emerge as one of the stars in the Big 12 at the running back position? But the Kansas State Wildcats and the new head coach, Colin Klein, they went and got in the portal and they grabbed a couple of Cowboys. They grabbed a couple of Oklahoma State Cowboys because remember, Eric Morris and the new regime, and they got all that talent from North Texas. So some Oklahoma State Cowboys were looking around saying, well, I can help somebody else. I can help somebody else. And this is the man that the Wildcats wanted. This is the man that the Wildcats got. Rodney Fields, Oklahoma State. 614 yards rushing. 5.0 average per rush. 1 rushing touchdowns. 28 receptions out of the backfield. If Avery Johnson can utilize Rodney Fields, that completion percentage below 60%, that sucker is going to go up. That sucker is going to go up. Rodney Fields could be a very valuable part of the new offense for the Wildcats and their new head coach. Rodney Fields, Joe Jackson, backfield for Avery Johnson. What about the receiving? What about the receiving room? Well, Jerron Tibbs coming back. He's the leader of the people who played at Kansas State last year. Kind of a surprise. 47 receptions last year, 595 yards receiving, 12.7 average per reception, 3 receiving touchdowns. Now, Kansas State also went in the portal to try to get some help. They got a guy that the Gophers were after. How dare you, Wildcats? How dare you get a guy that the Gophers were after in the portal? They picked up Josh Manning, Missouri, a promising young, pretty athletic dude. 29 receptions, a little bit over 300 yards. Josh Manning, Jerron Tibbs with Rodney Fields and Joel Jackson. Kind of interesting. You know, the Kansas State Wildcats did not stop at grabbing Rodney Fields from the Oklahoma State Cowboys. They got what some people call him a defensive end, some people call him a linebacker. I'm going to go ahead and call him a rush end. How about that? Wendell Gregory. Redshirt freshman season last year. Okay? Redshirt freshman season last year. He's a sophomore this year. 12 tackle for losses. 4 sacks. After barely playing as a true freshman, redshirt freshman season, Wendell Gregory got into the backfield. So the Kansas State Wildcats, they picked up some Cowboys who produced last year. Rodney Fields, running back, and Wendell Gregory. Hopefully for the Wildcats, they produce for Colin Klein and Avery Johnson this year. Now, after saying all that, I have to admit, and this was the big reason why I've got the Kansas State Wildcats as a potential candidate to get to the Big 12 championship this season. Look at this football schedule. Look at it. At Cincinnati. Home against Houston. Home against Kansas. The rivalry game is at home. At Arizona State. At Colorado. At home against Oklahoma State. At TCU. At home against Arizona. At Iowa State. The Kansas State Wildcats do not play the Texas Tech Red Raiders. The Kansas State Wildcats do not play the BYU Cougars. The Kansas State Wildcats do not play the Utah Utes. Woo! They don't even play, and I believe, well, no, they do play, I'm sorry, Arizona and Oklahoma State and Houston. Now, again, Avery Johnson, Joe Jackson, new coach. Right now, we've got Kansas State sitting at number 6. You all know that I fell in love with the Cowboys, with Drew Mestemaker, with Caleb Hawkins, with the new wide receiver coming from North Texas. I really like Houston this year. Really like Houston. I'm saying I really like Houston. Utah number 3, BYU 2, Texas Tech number 1. We did the Red Raider Spotlight yesterday. They're absolutely stacked. So can I move the Kansas State Wildcats up to 5? Can I move them up to 4? Can I move them up to 3? Woo! It's going to be difficult. But I'll give it another look. August is the month for our official order of finish prediction in every conference. Let me know what you all think. Where would you have Kansas State? Number 6? Is that too low? Is that too high? Should the Arizona Wildcats, should the TCU Horned Frogs be placed ahead of Kansas State Wildcats? I think a lot of it, in my opinion, I think a lot of it has to do with what you perceive Avery Johnson. Can he get to the next level? an exciting quarterback. He can make the off-schedule plays for the offense. But can he make the consistent throws? Can he get that completion percentage in around 62, 63, 64? Can Avery Johnson do that? And can he run just a little bit more? Am I asking too much? Or am I asking not enough from Avery Johnson? Let me know in the comments section below the video. That is our spotlight for the Kansas State Wildcats. Spotlight number 53. And tomorrow on our live show, Thursday, June 18th, is going to be the spotlight on Team 54. And what team is that? Well, you're going to have to find out. You're just going to have to show up tomorrow and figure it out. All right, so there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is the Kansas State Wildcat Spotlight. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments section how wrong I got it once again pertaining to the Kansas State Wildcats. Army of 24. Army of 24. Ross Dellinger. College football leaders ended their meeting here in Denver with no decision on expansion. The college football playoff expansion, Rich Clark said. While consultants delivered presentations on 16 in 2014 formats, no media evaluation figures were shared. Discussion centered on scheduling of a 2014 field and how to do it. I've got questions. I do not have answers. Now listen. The consultants did not share the media evaluations of a 2014-16. Does that mean the consultants don't have the numbers yet? Does that mean the consultants do have the number and they shared it, but the people who received the numbers have not shared it to the press? College football playoff staff is working on answering questions related to the operation of a potential 24-team expansion bracket and the scheduling of it, which poses issues in a tight December calendar. Another meeting is scheduled for later this summer where evaluation figures might be shared. What does that mean? What is going on? We're going to circle back to that. Rich Clark called logistics around a 2014 playoff as a hard one, mentioning considerations for a standalone window for an Army-Navy and a decision on whether to begin a 2014 field immediately after the regular season, currently the conference championship game weekend. And finally, Clark said, those are questions we have to answer. Student-athlete wellness is key. We talk about it a lot. Those are the kinds of things. Clark re-emphasized that the CFP leaders didn't get into any numbers as far as media evaluations of a 2014 field. Did the CFP leaders receive the numbers from the consultants and they do not want to talk about it? Or did the CFP leaders not get any numbers from the consultants? Okay, hold on now. I completely understand why the CFP, the leaders, the playoff committee, I can understand why they don't want to talk about the numbers in the open. But I would not understand why the consultants would not tell the college football playoff leaders the numbers, the valuation numbers. I don't understand that at all. Why would the consultants keep that information? I don't think they would. So I'm guessing the following. It's just a guess. I'm trying to use logic here. I'm guessing, just a guess. Just a guess. I'm not reporting this. It's impossible to know unless one of you PATC Einsteins has seen some other report. I believe, I want to get back to this one part first. Hold on. I'm calling a timeout. No media evaluations figures were shared. Consultants did not share the numbers to the CFP leaders? Or was the CFP leaders did not share any information to the press? If it is the consultants not sharing any information to the college football leaders, why the hell wouldn't they? But if the college football leaders did receive the information and are not sharing it with anybody else, it seems to me that means that maybe the valuations were good enough, decent enough, viable enough for the CFP leaders to go through this and talk about the operational mechanisms, how they would have to do this to do a 2014 playoff, right? Because if the numbers were like low, like, oh, this isn't worth it, this isn't going to work, why would they go through all the hoops to try to figure out the operational, what they need to do for a 2014 playoff? I find the reporting interesting. Kane says the numbers weren't shared with the press, but they were shared with the college football leaders. That makes sense to me. And to me, for the Army of 24, that would be a good scenario, because that means the numbers were high enough for them to go through the effort of figuring out the operations of a 2014 playoff. But that's all I'm going to talk about it today. Army of 24, hold your position. Hold your position. The momentum is still ours. The momentum is still going to the playoff of 24 teams. All right. We've got John Grove, Super Chat. Thank you so much, John Grove. I appreciate it. $5 holler from John Grove. Not only is Klein back, but so is the wide receiver and tight end coach from the 2022 Big 12 Championship. Skill set, talent is loaded. Now it's on to Avery to deliver. I've also heard John Grove, and let me know how wrong I got it. There's Kansas State's defense. The worry is not so much, are they going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback? I mean, Wendell Gregory, they've got some dudes. The secondary, they seem to be okay. The question for Kansas State's Wildcats defense is, can they stop the run in 2026? That is everything that I've read about the defense. The one worry that they got, do they have enough interior defense? They had to replace a lot of dudes. Do they have enough to stop the run in 2026? Let me know if you deem that to be correct or not. All right. Let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, No Super League. Not Super League. 2 separate super conferences. Is there going to be an early takeoff, which is going to need a quick strike? I don't know if there's going to be a quick strike, but I am pretty assured, especially from new information that we have received today, that I'm probably most likely going to deliver tomorrow. As I said at the beginning of the program, another door has been opened to us here at Peek Around the Corner. That the perception of the SEC and the Big Ten candidates looking to get to the Power 2 in the next wave of realignment, that they're looking at a possible quick strike. It doesn't mean that they would join the conference right away. In fact, it probably would not mean that, but they would be grandfathered in. They would be accepted with the votes needed in the SEC and the Big Ten, and then they'll figure out the rest later. Because of this bill that's going to happen. The possible breakaway of the SEC and the Big Ten. Let me talk a little bit about Miami. Because we did again, last night, Florida State Money Perch, quick strike candidates for the Big Ten. It had Miami, it had Florida State, Clemson, and it had Duke. Those that were listed, those 4 schools were listed, they were not listed in any particular order. It's just a list, I put them down that way. It wasn't 1 through 4. It was just 4. It wasn't but anyway, it doesn't matter. Of course, you all know at Peek Around the Corner, we have been talking a lot about Miami as a Big Ten candidate. Nothing done, nothing signed, nothing delivered. We do not think at June 17th anything is imminent, although that could change. Stick with us at Peek Around the Corner. There may be a day that I'm going to do a live show and I'm going to say, hot bubble of action, hot bubble of action. It's not today, though. Miami has always had the interest of the Big Ten over the last years. The research is the research that the Big Ten wants. The location is what the Big Ten wants. The diverse in the marketplace is a diverse market. It's diverse from the other marketplaces in the Big Ten. That is what the Big Ten wants. You see, the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten are completely 2 separate conferences. 2 separate super conferences, if you want to call it that. 2 separate rocket ships. They both have different fuel. The SEC is a regional conference that's looking to gain more market footprint. But their sauce is this incredible passion for the content that they deliver. Football, basketball, baseball, of course, mostly football, SEC. The fans, the value in that, the viewership. The Big Ten has a different secret sauce. A blend of big markets, big brand, markets that like to buy the products and the services of the national advertisers. The Miami market brings in that diverse market, different market that can attract different national advertisers. Plus, there's money in the Big Ten. I mean, there's money in Miami. And of course, the brand. Absolutely. Now, there's some things against Miami as the Big Ten candidate, just like there is in every candidate of the just like there is in most of the Big Ten schools. And that's all baked in. That's all baked in. We have been, look, Peek Around the Corner, we have not been shy about Miami to the Big Ten. And this was when Miami was losing football games. BTM about 3 years ago, BTM said Miami to the Big Ten in 2029. The boosters of the Big Ten wants Miami, just like they wanted USC. There is really only 1.5 things going against Miami. And they're really not they're not really a strong, they're not that all, it's not all that, really is not all that negative. It's just, again, whatever the Big Ten does, let me say this. Whenever the Big Ten decides to do something, be it because of what is going on with the Protect the College Sports Act or everything else that lends them to think that they might have to break away, whatever the Big Ten decides to do, right before they pull the trigger, the Big Ten is going to have one more conversation with Notre Dame. They did before they pulled the trigger on USC and UCLA. They had that conversation with Notre Dame right after they pulled the trigger. In fact, we reported that Notre Dame is going to make a very quick decision, yes or no, on whether they're going to join the Big Ten, and it was a quick no. And we reported that on our very new show, College Football Peek Around the Corner. But there is going to be that discussion with Notre Dame. And again, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter if Notre Dame says yes. Okay, we'll go in and we'll go into the Big Ten. Or no, maybe that decision ain't going to affect anything. Maybe everything else is going to fall into place no matter what Notre Dame decides. But there is a chance that the Big Ten plans would alter some, depending on whether Notre Dame says yes, we'll go in on the next batch or no. So again, this is what holds me back from saying PATC is reporting that Miami is going to be a Big Ten member. We have made that prediction last April 9th, this April 9th, and last April 9th, which is our prediction day that we do every year. But we have not reported that, unlike the Colorado to the Big 12, unlike Boise State to the Pac-12, unlike USC to the Big 10, unlike Notre Dame men's hockey is going to go to the Big 10 in 2017, unlike other stories that we have reported, PJ Fleck and others. We have not reported this school is going there. We've given our predictions and saying that because nothing is done, nothing is settled, our predictions really don't mean much. But that is what is stopping us from saying Miami to the Big Ten, because Notre Dame is the big domino that the Big Ten wants first, and they might not get them. I'm not saying that if Notre Dame says yes, they're not going to want anything to do with Miami. I highly doubt that's going to affect the next decisions. But because Miami is not the biggest domino from the Big Ten's perspective, and that's not a shot against Miami, we cannot report that. Not yet. That Miami's going to be a Big Ten member. What we have reported is Miami's got everything that the Big Ten wants. And that Miami is the lead dog. Again, not a shot at Florida State. I know a lot of people have taken it as a shot. Not much I can do about that. Florida State's best and probably only opportunity to get to the Big Ten is to be with Miami. And I know that Florida State knows that. So, in the state of Florida, when it comes to Big Ten expansion, it's always been Miami. It has not been Florida State. Although I find it very difficult to believe that ESPN and SEC are ever going to take a chance that the Big Ten would take Florida State with Miami. That is why Miami going to the Big Ten is probably the best news that Florida State could possibly receive. That is, I don't think that's bad news at all. In fact, it plays into Florida State's hands. Either the SEC is going to have to play defense or the SEC is going to have to play offense. They cannot allow the Big Ten to take both. But I got to be honest with you, and I have been honest with you for years about Florida State. I continue to be honest with you. It is Miami that is the one that the Big Ten has circled. Potentially Florida State coming along. But it is Miami. But I can't have Miami. I cannot report Miami to the Big Ten because of Notre Dame and North Carolina. Because we know, we have Peek Around the Corner. We have received enough information, many years. The Big Ten wants North Carolina. Jim Delaney wanted North Carolina. Kevin Warren wanted North Carolina. Tony Petitti wants North Carolina. I have doubts that they can get them. But that's why I've always, the last couple of years, North Carolina, especially with that new athletic director, they lean SEC. So I just wanted to say that all because Miami's in a really good position. We've known that here at Peek Around the Corner. We've been fortunate for doors to be open to us. Now you come this morning and you got the University of Miami president talking about how he's really confident. Of course they're going to say that, but come on. He's saying that we're going to be where we need to. We're going to be playing at the highest level. We're going to be where the top of the sport is. We're going to make it so they cannot leave us behind. We bring too much value. And they do. They honestly do. The brand and everything. So, before we get to your phone calls, if you look at the Big Ten, I know there are people out there, and I'm just trying to give you the peek around the corner. I know there are people out there that thinks the Big Ten is the evil empire. I would agree. All those schools are evil except for the Golden Gopher. I understand why people are upset. All I can give you is the accurate peek around the corner. That's what I do here. And I can tell you there are people who believe there's not enough juice, there's not enough money, there's not enough motivation for the Big Ten to expand again. And all I can tell you at Peek Around the Corner is everybody that we talk to, and it is quite the Rolodex. Everyone says, no, the Big Ten is going to expand again because it's that they're not serving their member institutions. In other words, they pretty much know, that all the institutions are going to be better off in the next expansion if they can keep the conference together, of course. If they don't fracture, which becomes more of a possibility the larger you get, but the conference is going to get richer, not poorer. The conference is not going to get more diluted. If they do it right, with the right candidates, with the right media partners, at the right time, with the right platforms, with the right sponsorship, with the right expertise, they're going to be able to be rich, just like they did with Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA, Rutgers, and Maryland, Nebraska. Same thing with the Southeastern Conference. The Big Ten is all in on expansion. I am surprised. I am surprised that I have not been getting into arguments with PATC family members that so-and-so from the Big Ten says the Big Ten ain't looking to expand anytime soon. We're not looking to, we don't need to expand, blah, blah, blah. I am shocked that no Big Ten leader will go out there and say, we're not going to expand. We don't need to expand for another decade. There's so much, we don't want to expand. We do not, because that has always been done in the past. Always been done in the past. And it's not even being done now. We have the opposite. We've got Tim Smith, Maryland. We've got Mark Coyle, Minnesota. We've got officials basically saying, a couple of years from now, we're probably going to want to do it. We have been told that peek around the corner, it's like unless something drastic happens, like the Protecting College Sports Act. This is why the bill is being created, for God's sakes. This is not a secret. Big money is out there saying to the Big Ten, if you expand, you're going to get richer. You've got big money out there telling the SEC, if you expand, you're going to get richer. There are other big money out there that is saying, that is true. Hey, Cody Campbell, Big 12, ACC, everybody else, we have got to stop the super conference rocket ships from taking off. That's what this bill is all about. So, after saying all of that, let me push the envelope just a little bit more. We here at Peek Around the Corner, we could end up being incorrect. I don't think so. That the Big Ten has very strong interest in Miami. The Big Ten has very strong interest in North Carolina. Probably not going to get them. Big Ten has very strong interest in Notre Dame, but Notre Dame, again, for the last 100 years, whatever. You know that story. We do think the walls are going to close in. We think Notre Dame eventually is going to join the Big Ten. But Miami is the lead dog when it comes to Big Ten candidates that are willing and able to jump in the Big Ten boat. So if you think that is accurate, and we believe that is incredibly accurate, like we have for a couple of years, we're now no Johnny-come-latelys on Miami. You all know this. If you believe that is accurate, if you don't believe that is accurate, that's cool. That's fine. But if you do believe that is accurate, and North Carolina is not gettable, and Notre Dame is not ready to go, who is that 20th school for the Big Ten? If there is a quick strike, if there has to be a quick breakaway, if the Big Ten wants to grandfather the schools in before this bill would take effect, if the unthinkable happens, and if it's a complete breakaway from the NCAA, and North Carolina's not gettable by the Big Ten, and Notre Dame still can wait it out, they can wait it out, who is school 20 with Miami? Is it Florida State? Is it? Because they're willing. Is it Duke? They're willing. Utah? They're willing, but can they get out? Probably not quickly. Kansas, willing. Can they get out quickly? Probably not. Stanford, they can get out quick. Are they willing? The candidate list, if you really go by who is willing and who can, who's got the resources and who are up there, who would be Miami's wingman? Let me know in the comments section below the video. I happen to think that is why the Florida State money perch believes he doesn't believe he from his point of view, Florida State perception is they would be that 20th. They are on the quick strike list of potential candidates for the Big Ten. They also listed Clemson, which to me is a wild name. But is that why Kevin Gustwich, that whole thing is a wild card. And Duke, of course, Duke. Duke in Miami, is that the quick strike tandem that the Big Ten could pull off quickly? Let me know. Let me know. Again, we're not reporting that this is going to happen, only that this type of language is being spoken on the lips of multiple people. We've got the Florida State money perch, we've got the Miami president, and we have a third person we believe we're going to be able to deliver you the information tomorrow on our live show. So buckle up for tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe. I need to make sure I can say what we've been told. I got to make sure we can say what we've been told on tomorrow's live show. So I got to button all that up. All right, we're going to go to your super chats. We're going to go to your phone calls. I appreciate everybody coming on in. We got 174 people live. Before you do anything else, subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell, because you don't know when we're coming on live next. I have no idea. We go where the story goes. That's what we do here at Peek Around the Corner. There is a reason why we went with that Florida State money perch story as quick as we possibly could yesterday. And the Miami president, the interview this morning, proves why we did what we did. It's something that you have to do. You've always got to have curiosity. You've always got to listen to the people who've got great track records, who have delivered the goods to you, us at Peek Around the Corner. And then we got to get that information out as fast as we can, because we do not know when the next dot of information is going to drop like it did this morning. And when it dropped, and when I listened to it, you know that it's not just Miami who perceives that there might be this quick strike application of this next realignment of the Big Ten and the SEC. It's not just Miami. It's not just Florida State. You got to know that North Carolina knows it. You got to know that there's a few more ACC schools that are all like, okay, we got to be ready just in case. This could happen. This could happen. We might be withdrawing from our conference late in 2026 to join another conference in 28. We might be withdrawing from our conference in 27 to join another conference in 29 or 2030. Something might happen that is very unique, just like what happened to Texas and Oklahoma. All right. Let me open up the phone lines. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333.
From
Mohr Simmons.
Mohr Simmons, the floor is yours. Thanks you, Mr. Seminole, for calling. I appreciate it, sir. Go ahead.
Yes. Greg, I want to run something by you. Now, for the college football playoff, you was talking about the 24 teams. Do you think that once they have the realignment out of the way, then they will move on to the 24-team college football playoff? 'Cause I don't think they're going to do that first and then look at the realignment. I think it's going to probably be the other way around, realignment and the college football 24. And another thing I want to say is this. As a diehard Noel fan, I got. I'm sorry. As a diehard No fan, only thing I have to say is, look, Miami going to get where they have to go. If that's the Big Ten, fine. I'm happy for Miami. I'm happy for them. That means they got a seat at the table. I'm good. I have nothing against Miami or their fan base. We rivals, yes, but also I want to let the people know. Look, our number one rivalry game here in the state of Florida is Florida. It will always be Florida. And when you're looking at the top two schools in the state that actually get airwave time here in the state of Florida is Florida and Florida State, period. That's it. So congratulations to Miami for getting to the Big Ten.
What?
We be over here to the SEC if that's where we going. Good. One day we may meet up and play each other. Maybe.
Well, Miami hasn't gotten to the Big Ten yet, right? And we have not reported that yet. Just to make everything clear, we can't report that yet.
Oh,
because,
they
yep.
got to see that at the table, Greg. They got to see that at the table.
I can't say that. You can. I can't say that.
I know you can't say it, but I'm going to say it. They got to see that at the table.
Yep.
All right.
All right, man.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. Great call, Mr. Seminole. Okay, timeout. I gotta call a timeout. 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 I took the phone off the hook. I took the phone off the hook. We got some breaking news. The first one is innocent enough. The second one, I cannot believe what I just read. Let's go to the first. Again, I apologize. We'll get you phone calls as quick as I possibly can. There is no outstanding super chats out there. If you send in a super chat, I will get to it as quick as I possibly can. I promise you. But I got it. We've got some breaking news. Breaking news. Breaking news. Breaking news. The first one is the innocent one. No problem. No problem. Ross Dellinger. College football playoff leaders are moving toward increasing UConn's distribution to align with a G6 share of $1.5 to $2 million. The Huskies, as the only independent aside from Notre Dame, had received only 1/5 the portion. That is logical. That should be done. Not a problem. Not a problem. Not a problem. This is truly unbelievable. In an ambiguous section of the Protect College Sports Act, NIL deals with associated entities may count against the rev share cap. While closing a loophole, this may limit athlete pay by hundreds of millions of dollars, stakeholders tell Yahoo Sports. Ross Dellinger, let me put it up on the board. With Protect College Sports Act under scrutiny, NIL deals with associated entities creating confusion. Ross Dellinger. On page 25 of the revised 47-page Protect College Sports Act, the newest college sports legislation, one can find an interesting section. In all caps and bolded, Section 114 title reads as follows. Prohibited compensation and agreements. Over the next 39 lines, the language details an overshadowed portion of the legislation, if adopted as written, stands to dramatically reshape the college athletic compensation market. At least that's how some are interpreting it, including a few here in the Mile High City, where Division I conference commissioners are holding their annual meetings. Ahead of one of the most anticipated congressional events in college sports history on Thursday, which is tomorrow, a committee amendment session and vote to potentially send the bill to the Senate floor, many within the industry believe Section 114 of the Protect College Sports Act may limit the amount of money that athletes are currently receiving, potentially by hundreds of millions of dollars. Those include athletes themselves. 19 athletes representing 7 different sports, covering 14 Division I conferences, submitted a letter on Tuesday to lawmakers detailing how Section 114 would have a severe negative impact and greatly inhibit student-athlete compensation in general, wrote Samuel Edwards, a Michigan State football player and athlete representative on the Division I Board of Directors, who penned the 6-page note. 4 of the athletes are members of the Presidential Committee on College Athletes. Cruz and Cantwell appears to close a lucrative loophole that schools are using to pay their athletes beyond the revenue share cap allotted to them. The bill text prevents athlete NIL deals struck with associated entities from resulting in compensation in an amount that would circumvent or result in the institution exceeding the revenue share cap. So in other words, a bill prevents athlete NIL deals struck with associated entities. They're going to have to be counted in the rev share cap number. For a year now, schools have used multimedia rights partners, corporate sponsors, and apparel brands, all deemed as associated entities because of the contractual relationship with the universities, to intentionally circumvent the cap. Universities are redirecting revenue traditionally intended for the athletic department to the rosters in the form of manufactured NIL opportunities with multiple media right partners like Learfield, Playfly brands. But those deals with associated entities, those NIL deals with multimedia right partners, Learfield, Playfly, brands like Nike, Adidas, those have to go through the NIL Go. They do. You remember that last ruling, that last back and forth? They have to go through it. They have to go through it. The Wisconsin 18, remember that? They have to be submitted. They have to be denied or approved. It's got to be in some sort of compensation range. But those deals, those associated, those NIL deals that go through using associated entities, they have to go through the NIL Go. If they're approved, it's not considered part of the rev share cap. It's just considered an NIL deal that's approved, that's within the compensation range. This Saving College Sports Act would have those multimedia right partner type of deals, NIL deals, those deals would count against your rev share cap. If you have an NIL, deal with Rock and Rant has a let's say Rock and Rant had a car cleaning business, right? You send your car through his, you get your car cleaned. And Rock and Rant wanted to put a picture up on the wall of Darren Mensah and pay Darren Mensah a name, image, and likeness contract. That deal has to go through NIL Go, and if it's approved, Rock and Rant's going to give Darren Mensah $1,000 a year, whatever. That's an NIL deal, okay? That doesn't get counted against the rev share cap. But if Playfly makes a deal with Darren Mensah and it's for $10,000, well within the compensation range, it doesn't matter what that number is, that gets taken off of the total rev share, $21.5 million that Miami can give the student athletes directly. That gets nipped, that goes to the rev share number. That is counted against the rev share number, according to this bill. I tell you, man, this bill is a wreck. This bill was done in a sloppy shop. This bill was done in a sloppy shop. Let me ask you another question. We know that. We know NIL is pay to play. But why are you treating associated entities different? Why? I cannot believe this. An NIL deal is an NIL deal. Rev share deals do not have to go through NIL Go. If you want to pay your quarterback, $2 million to the rev share, you can go ahead and pay it. It doesn't have to be okayed by anybody or anything. An NIL deal has to fit within the compensation range, so it's not too much pay for play. But in this bill, an associated entities NIL deal, if it's approved by NIL Go, which it has to be, it is put into the rev share bucket. Why is this? I can give you one reason why this is potentially true, because this would help Cody Campbell. This would help Cody Campbell and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. I don't know. This bill is a mess. Anyways, let's get back to your phone calls. That was breaking news. Hopefully I described it well enough. That's just broke. I am... we got more breaking news. Breaking news. The Protect College Sports Act shuts athletes out, installs the only proven fix, collective bargaining. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Athletes.org has come out against the bill. Okay, now let's get to your phone calls. Any super chats that come along the way, we'll get to them as quick as possible. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. We got Mohr After Dark. Ooh, you do not want to rip on Nick Bockwinkel. Hopefully Mohr did not rip on Nick Bockwinkel. That is a no-no. I saw Nick Bockwinkel. I saw the name Nick Bockwinkel. I'm hoping that Mohr ripped on me and not Nick Bockwinkel. Let's see what Mohr has to say. Greg is so cold he makes a Nick Bockwinkel slam on the concrete floor of the St. Paul Civic Center feel like a warm blanket. Okay, I'm fine with that. Nick Bockwinkel is one of the greats, Mohr After Dark. One of the greats. Thank you for the $5 holler. I appreciate it, sir. Very much appreciate it.
From
Rock and Rant.
Rock and Rant, the floor is yours. Now, I got that right, correct? The associated entity thing, blah, blah, blah. Or did I completely mangle that? Go ahead, sir.
I mean, I was reading it as you were showing it, but
Yeah.
I think you did get it right? Essentially, if you have a collective that's tied or a media rights partner, if the cap is $21 million revenue share and you're going to get that from other revenue sources,
Yep.
they're now saying that those additional revenue sources are part of that. So if you were a player X and you were going to get $1 million from revenue share because you were that important to the program,
Yes.
and you're going to get another $1 million because you actually have a name, image, and license deal with somebody that has ties or an entity that has ties to your media rights, and they actually exploit it, even if they actually exploit it legitimately,
Yep.
but versus some of those other deals, which we know is a little bit of shade, right?
Yep.
That money would not be considered a secondary source that is uncapped. It would come back in, so all of a sudden
Yes.
cutting
Yeah.
out people for doing it. That's my interpretation, which is why there's a hearing about that, separately from this legislation, talking about how that shouldn't be part of the settlement. It wasn't supposed to be part of the settlement, which was a separate thing before we now see this new amendment introduced. So it's, other than it seems like Cody Campbell shut up today so far, maybe I missed it, it's just as much of a wild day as any other day, just on a different tack or different story heading into the hearing tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know you and I touched base a little bit on text earlier, but not a ton. I think a context for people who are not Miami fans, because I think the story, regardless whether you're a Miami Hurricane fan or not, right, a hater, doesn't matter. The fact that Joe Echeverria came out the way he did, I'm trying to think of another presidents talk. I'm not saying like other presidents don't talk or other ADs, and sometimes that's good or bad, but I'm trying to think of a more a statement in the last few years that wasn't, pressed in a corner or in reaction to something that was as pretty direct in a politically smart way as what he did today and how much he told us. And I'm wondering if you can recall something like that recently as a comparison.
No, I can't. And I agree with you. I think he told us a lot. Without disturbing any of the NDAs that Miami is under, he told us a lot.
And for context for people, so Joe Rose is, he has the morning show on the biggest sports radio station in South Florida. He does the Dolphins broadcast. He is the one who has Mario Cristobal call in every Monday. QAM is the home of the Hurricanes, right? So not to say that they don't have journalistic integrity or anything along those lines, because I think they ask real questions for the most part. But it is still there's a partnership there between Miami and WQAM. That's where their sports are broadcast, football and basketball primarily. And if there were things that, Joe's not going to do anything to necessarily push him into a corner. So I'm guessing that maybe QAM had questions. I'm also thinking that maybe the president went on today because he wanted to say something and gave had some of those back-end conversations, so that, certain things were definitely put out there, which I think is interesting, because why today specifically? In a couple of weeks, there's going to be the media days for the ACC, and while it's generally presidents I mean, generally ADs and coaches, what have you. He is not somebody who's not out in the media, and he generally does not make mistakes, whether he's on Pat McAfee or something like that. But I'm wondering if you think it's interesting that it was today versus any other week in the off season, or intentional from other powers that be, knowing what's going on, that you're getting a school that's in this Netherland on the whole legislation, right?
Okay. Now this is 70% speculation, 30% not speculation. Okay.
Right.
I think it's because there has been some official information that has been delivered to some universities in the ACC to say there is an outside chance, there's a possibility, there's something that could happen. So, get your ducks in a row. Because the Florida State money perch, when he has something, he rushes, and he only speaks. He's only spoken to us like once. He spoke to us a couple months ago on a Friday night, or during the day on Friday. We did the show live Friday night. Then we find out Monday that yes, he and others were given there was a meeting with the Florida. That wasn't put out. There wasn't in public anywhere. Everybody found out. Everybody found out about that Florida State meeting on that Monday war chant. Why we were talking about it Friday night with the money perch saying we got new information. Same thing happened in December in 2022. It's like, so he reacts to something. I think Florida State just got the message. 70% speculation, 30% non-speculation, all right? And then, so I think Miami has gotten the heads up on something. And we've got a third entity that has told us something that we are flushing out. So I think there was this communication brought on by the world that's happening at Capitol Hill, the Big Ten and the SEC wargaming, and I think they might have communicated, look, this whole thing could go in so many different ways. One of the ways that it could go is we commit to you, you commit to us, but you might not be able to join us for a while. And so I think, again, 70% speculation. I think the University of Miami president this morning, knowing what he's been communicated by with the Big Ten, possibly also with the SEC, he says, I have a suspicion that this might go the way of Texas and Oklahoma, where they had to wait. That's my answer to that question.
Yeah, and his suspicion is, like, I have a suspicion that I'm going to eat dinner tonight. I mean, I don't really know, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to eat dinner tonight. He knows, like, to me, that's a tell. And it's not because I'm wish casting it or anything along those lines. I've not experienced him in his role, a guy who was a former chairman, CEO of Deloitte, right, which is always careful about everything. Like, that's just the nature, who turned around an entire medical system, to come out and just throw that out there just because he wants to give a good interview today. There's a lot of things, if you're a Miami fan, because there was other parts of the interview that were not focused on this, but 80% of it was around this world. He addressed people's concerns about the baseball team not making it to here. Yeah. He tried to put things back in the box around the athletic director hire, right? He talked about how, basically admitted in some ways that Miami was a problem for the ACC not doing things, and they were there to fix it, right? And that put themselves in the right position. He justified some of the concerns that the Big Ten and the SEC might have about revenue sharing because they have more teams that are investing in sports. It was almost like the Godfather scene at the end, when they take care of all the business. He was almost clearing the slate. Yeah. To me, on a lot of topics, of which the most interesting to this community are the things that could impact potential conference realignment. So I think I don't think it's accidental that it was today. I don't know that Tony Petitti told him to go on air or anything like that. I think something is in the air, and it may just be contingency in case this legislation goes and they do need to do the quick action you're talking about. But if I was Brendan Sorsby, I would bet sometime between May 31st of next year and tomorrow, somebody's going to announce that they're leaving, even if it's not for 2 or 3 years. And that even if they say it's 3 years from now, I don't think that even means it will be 3 years from now, because everything could change in a minute, and the Big Ten can reopen negotiations with Fox early if they wanted to, and everything could change again. But that was just my take. I agree. Fans were pretty floored. They were pretty floored that he was that direct about it, because you're used to Dan Radakovich being the person, and they did use the one common line: proud members of the ACC for this contract. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't think he means the 2036 ACC contract, Greg. I think he means until the Big Ten and/or SEC's contract is expiring, because he ain't waiting for 10 years to be broke.
No, it's yes. The more you he was pretty direct. And I happen to think, and I could be wrong, but I happen to think this was all new. Like relatively new. Again, we've talked about this. This is nothing here is static. Nothing is done. Nothing is settled. There is no, things are moving. Things are fluid, right? It's not a cop-out. It's just the actual truth. We do not know the next variable that's going to come into this. Just like the Protecting College Sports Act. We did not know that variable was going to come into this. And I think they're it's relatively new information that a handful of schools got a heads up and said, you know what, we're not sure about the timetable. It might be sped up a lot. So, and I think that was hanging in his mind, and he wanted to come out and say, what he said this morning.
Yeah, I thought it was artfully done, not putting himself in any bad position, but telling you if you wanted to read the tea leaves so much. And things can change, right? And you can get accused of getting it wrong if it doesn't go down that way. But it's just like recruiting. You have a commitment. They make a commitment on Instagram. It's a done deal. Insiders tell you that was about to come. And then it's like 2 weeks later or on signing day, they flip. It doesn't mean the information that you're providing or the speculation on informed information you have, which you're clearly stating as speculation, was wrong at the time that it goes down. So I don't know. I thought it was, when I first called in, I think I was pretty damn pissed that Miami wasn't commenting on the Florida State Clemson lawsuits way back when, a couple of years, 2.5 years ago, whatever that was.
Yeah.
Now we have this complete sort of different perspective and commenting in a politically smart way, but still telling you something. So anyway, that's my take.
Yeah, and just another, this is just another example of why we at Peek Around the Corner. When somebody that we know with a big old great track record says something, and we're allowed to say it, we're not burning anything. It is really important to get it out as fast as you possibly can, because what the University of Miami president said this morning on its own is worth a whole lot, but in the context of what we know that Florida State perceives what's going on, it fits right in. It's just the two dots connect on it. So, all right, man. I appreciate it, sir.
Shortest off season in history with everything that's been going on, man. So, can't wait to hear what else everybody else has to say.
I appreciate it, sir. Thanks for the great call, Rock and Matt.
Bye-bye.
All right. Rich Austin and the rest of you, come on now. We're having this great live show. I'm gonna put you all on timeout. I'm gonna go right down the list and put everybody. I can't follow what is. There's so many things that is going on here. We at College Football Peek Around the Corner. We're trying to give you the I work all day on this stuff. We give you this incredible information. And you guys are getting into fights about, I got to be honest, probably some really stupid stuff. So, all right, Karan Shakar, you're on a 24-hour timeout. Anybody else? Does anybody else want to troll right now? I'm going to go back and reread the chat room at a later time and probably be taking some action. I understand throwing the elbows at each other because you're having an argument about who's the better backup quarterback or what team is the have a better market or bigger brand or better fans. But to personally go at each other constantly, where we're doing a live show that is incredibly unique in college football YouTube channels. I don't know, man. It defeats the purpose. All right, we're not getting any phone calls. Just like yesterday, people are just continuing to bitch and moan at each other. We'll give this a little bit more time to see if you guys... I mean, I understand some of it, but it's like... All right. Phone lines are now, they've been open, 763-260-1333.
Call from
Tristan 5.
Tristan 5, the floor is yours.
Hey, Greg, thanks for taking my call.
You got it, buddy.
Hey, listen, I wanted to ask you a question. I've been thinking about one of your most recent shows where they had the Florida State money Perch with the quick strike moves.
Yeah.
So, Clemson and Florida State were listed for both the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah.
But there's a symmetry in all of this. If Florida State and Clemson did actually go to the SEC, and then North Carolina and NC State also did, and Miami and Duke went to the Big Ten, Greg, both conferences would be at 20. Right? That's something that kind of stood out to me. I feel like what's going on here, and we'll have to see how it turns out whenever these moves come around, but I feel like they're going to end up with the same number of universities in each conference. And I think they're both going to have to go past 20. Because even if this quick strike thing, if that scenario plays out to be true, and I know you're not predicting, I'm not trying to
No,
that.
yeah.
But if that unfolds, Greg, you still got Notre Dame out there. You still got 2 Virginia schools. You still got Kansas. It feels like, or it seems like someone in the Four Corner schools would end up in the P2. There's too many other quality universities. Like I think that you're going to have each conference is really going to need to go past 20 before all of the really worthy schools are, included. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of worthy schools, but I don't think the Big Ten and the SEC is going to act because they think someone's worth. I think they're going to act dependent on what, and I know you know this. They're going to act in the way that's best for the conference, right? For the member institutions.
Right. Yeah.
And at some point, I mean, again, a lot of this to me is dependent on Notre Dame, right?
It is. But Greg, look, if the quick strike scenario happens, then they just pulled the rug out from under Notre Dame. They can't stay in an ACC conference that doesn't have.
Yep. I get it. I get it. It most likely would have to go past 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe not right away, though. Maybe not right away.
No, and in fact, I still think that there's no way the SEC takes 4 at one time. They've never done it, Greg. I mean, and of course, anything's possible, right? We're living in an era where just one surprising turn after another. Mm-hmm. But it seems like, two by two is the way that it needs to go. That's how they've been doing their last 3 expansions. It was 2 teams each.
Yeah.
And so, but 2 1 year and then 2 a couple of years later, or maybe even the next year might be what happens. So it could still be relatively quick. But if it were to come true, Greg, I'm thinking about Virginia now. Do you think that if North Carolina and NC State go to the SEC, does that make it more likely for Virginia to go to the SEC? Or would they more likely go to the Big Ten with Maryland and Duke being there?
What was that scenario again for Virginia?
Well, so they're one of the schools that's not in the P2, according to this quick strike idea.
Yeah,
so
if Florida
North
State's
Carolina
perception.
and NC State go to the SEC.
What was that? Repeat what you just said. Who goes to the SEC?
North Carolina and NC State
go
to the SEC.
All right.
And then if Duke goes with Miami to the Big Ten, which conference do you think they would prefer?
I think the leadership of the University of Virginia would prefer the Big Ten.
Yeah.
But, the bigger boosters might prefer might prefer the SEC. But I think the leadership of Virginia and the leadership of the State House would probably prefer the Big Ten.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking that if they do get Duke, that might be enough to nudge them in that direction. Right? Because there's a certain desire for regionality, for Virginia, just as there is for North Carolina.
Yeah, there is. Yep, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
That might be enough to do it,
Yeah.
So anyway, I was just sort of speculating beyond the quick strike scenario, trying to figure out what might come afterwards. So anyway, thanks, Greg. You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work, and I'll talk to you later.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for the phone call. Thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye.
Beautiful. If you just joined us, we have done the spotlight on the Kansas State Wildcats. Team number, I believe, 53. 53, we talked about Avery Johnson, Joe Jackson, Rodney Fields, Jared Tibbs, Wendell Gregory, the great rush in, came from Oklahoma State. Go check it out early in the program.
Call from
Moen, the Buckeye Moen. The floor is yours. Another crazy day in college football. The University of Miami speaks. What are your thoughts on it, sir? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was an interesting interview. I recommend everybody listen to it to understand the context behind the content.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. I think the Big Ten and the SEC, if they think that the Protecting College Sports Act gets 60 votes, I think they send out invitations to people to join at a later date. A memorandum of understanding that in the 2028-2029 season that Miami will be playing for the Big Ten, and Miami will work out its legal issues with the ACC, including their exit fee and all that good stuff to get out of the grant of rights. Miami and Duke, I think, are the two most likely for the Big Ten. And I know Rick called last night and wanted to know why private schools were viewed more favorably over public institutions. And a lot of it has to do with government entanglements. Florida has the problem with, the government stepped in and stopped the University of Florida from hiring Santa Ono, which upset a lot of people in the Big Ten for obvious reasons. He was a Big Ten AD. He wasn't, or not AD, but president. He wasn't, particularly well liked after the cheating scandal, but, he was still one of them. And it's like the state of Florida stepped in and said, no, you can't have him. So with Miami, they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
They don't have a state of Florida problem. It's a private school. They can do what they want. They don't have to worry about anybody's politics or anything like that. And the same is true of Duke. You can get into North Carolina and not have a backpack brand. And we've talked about the Wolfpack backpack several times. And if that stands true, the SEC, if they want North Carolina that bad, they'll take North Carolina State.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think I agree with Tristan. I think both of them are going to go to 20. I think the SEC does make a move for 4, though. The Big Ten goes 2. And I think at that point, Notre Dame is going to get the message. Every exit hatch is closed. The water's pouring in. You're going to have to make a decision on whether or not you want to continue to remain independent and not be able to schedule quality opponents.
Yeah. There is news. Ross Dellinger is reporting on the eve of a Senate markup, the Big Ten and the SEC remain opposed to the Protect College Sports Act for a variety of reasons. So tomorrow is going to be another big day, Moen. Holy smokes.
Yeah, I think it's really going to hit the fan tomorrow. I'd be interested to see kind of what they end up coming up with and the final markups and amendments they're going to put in there. But yeah, I mean, look, this could happen. Quick strike is, I know you said 70% speculation and 30% information. I think quick strike is becoming a more likely thing. Getting those teams in because, getting them in early, if the bill passes, you've got a memorandum of understanding that they're Big Ten members or they're SEC members. And whatever law you pass, Section 205, they're grandfathered in. So, I mean, they may have to do that, and they may have to do it on a large scale, especially if they're looking to go self-governing conferences. We talk about Super League, but now I think we're talking about super conferences.
Yes, and that's our title screen says no Super League, 2 separate super conferences. I got a couple of questions for you. Number one, this whole Senate markup thing for tomorrow, is that going to be, am I going to be able to stream that live here?
You absolutely should. It's C-SPAN, it's public access television. You should.
Are you going to be, is somebody intelligent enough, is somebody intelligent going to do me the favors of sending me a link so I can possibly live stream that tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll send you a link once it goes live.
I appreciate it. Or try to go before it goes live, so I can
right.
make myself look handsome. Okay. Second question. Let's say the Protect College Sports Act goes belly up in the Senate. Let's say they can't get 60 votes. Does that alter? It probably alters somewhat of this. Maybe the quick strike gets taken off the table, but again, you're not having a federal legislation to give the NCAA, the member institutions, any sort of exemption from antitrust violations. Are we still looking at a 2027 silo, 2028, however you want? I know you don't like the term silo. Separate two super conferences. We're still looking at that, but maybe the quick strike is off the table. Is that what you're thinking?
I think it alters the timeline. Mm-hmm. I don't think it alters specifically what's going to happen.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I think maybe now they're looking at it and saying, hey, if it gets 60 votes by 2028, we need to silo, and we need to get at least 2 schools in here, and you know, and I know Notre Dame is going to make the decision on the Big Ten ultimately, and they'll probably call Notre Dame and say, hey, look, Notre Dame, we're inviting these 2 teams, and you know, the ACC is going to collapse, but you know, they're going to have that instability for Notre Dame to actually make the decision.
Yeah.
But that's all I got for you, Greg.
You guys going live tonight?
I'm not. I'm taking the night off.
Okay, beautiful. You're going to have a crazy show Friday night, though.
Oh, yeah. Friday night. It's going to be really good. I think everybody will want to tune in on the Big Freaking Friday show. All
right, man. I appreciate your phone call, sir.
All right. Take it easy, Greg.
You got it. We got a golden gopher in the house. We've got a golden gopher in the house. He's in the chat room. It is Mike. Wow. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Greg, so relieved that Sorsby isn't going to play. I think that had potential to ruin college football. So crisis averted. Now we can focus on ball. Sky Yuma. Row the boat. Go Gophers. 8-4 is the floor. 8-4 is the floor for the beloved golden Gophers in 2026. I bet Mike agrees with me. He's got to agree. 8-4 is the floor, not the ceiling. It is the floor. Thanks for coming on in, Mike. I appreciate it. Hold on one second. Hold on 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. I got to do 2 things here. 2 important items. And then we will get to your next phone call. If another phone call does come in. Hold on. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Hold on. Ba 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 ba. We got Noah Berman. We got a member for 6 months. Holy smokes. I do declare that Oregon will beat Ohio State on November 7th. Where is that game being played? Where is that? Where is that Oregon Buckeye game being played? Does anybody know? I'll just have to check the schedule. It's at Ohio State. Boy, that's a tough one. No, I don't know. See, the I do declare has to be a bold prediction. The closer to the chalk, the closer that it is like most often it's going to happen. Like there's a good chance, a 40% chance, it's a 1-point evaluation. Then it's 2, then it's 3, then it's 4, then it's 5. The 5 are the most outlandish bold prediction. I don't know if Oregon defeating Ohio State is worth a 1-pointer. Let me think about it. And now I do declare competition. Kiffin will win more playoff games than Ole Miss. That's a 1-pointer. There's not many 1-pointers. 2-pointer, Dante Moore wins the Heisman. Boise State will not be the G6 team in the college football playoffs. That's a 1-pointer. Pac-12 clearly wins the G6 TV ratings. That's a 1-pointer. Teron Dickens will start the game for UNC. Preston already got that wrong. Teron Dickens is already one in the portal. Man, I don't know. That's a 2. The Buckeyes gone soft. Well, if the Buckeyes have gone soft, that's even a more okay, I'm going to go ahead and book it. We will book that in, Noah Berman. It's a 1-pointer. It's close to not getting booked in, but if it's at Oregon, I would not book it. Okay, it's a 1-pointer, Noah Berman. You are booked in. Let me get that in right now. And then we'll get to phone calls and super chats and whatever you guys want to do. Let me get that in. Whoops, I screwed that up. All right, that is booked in, Noah. Congratulations. I do declare prediction number 83. Number 83. The phone lines are open. I think everybody's really pooped out about all the news that has been happening. We have not been receiving many many phone calls. Here is the BetMGM Big Ten win totals. BetMGM Big Ten 2026 win totals. Indiana 10.5, Oregon 10.5, Ohio State 9.5, Penn State 8.5, Michigan 8.5, USC 8.5. Go over on Michigan.
From?
This is Mike from We Live for Saturday.
Mike, We Live for Saturday, Mr. Golden Gopher. Now the floor is completely yours. Let's get this thing rocking with Golden Gopher propaganda. Go ahead, sir. The floor is absolutely yours.
All right, so here's what I think it all comes down to this fall. You look at the schedule, it sets up nice. There's a good on-ramp for Minnesota. I think Mississippi State is a good test, but like a game you should win at where you're at in your program development compared to where they are in there.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So then I think you look at Washington and then host Michigan for the Jug to start Big Ten play. I think you got to split those games. I think you get one of those two, you're off and running, and could be in a really good spot down the stretch.
I think there's again, we're going to have some eye rolls in the chat room. I think there's a much better chance we sweep those two games than lose both those games.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now that would be, if we sweep those games, then we can start talking about a playoff run.
I think Michigan at home. We're gonna know by September 20. I'm sorry. We're gonna know by October 3rd if Bryce Underwood can get off the mat. The word out of Ann Arbor. The word out of Ann Arbor. If you place Bryce Underwood on a rowboat. In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and gave them the football. Hello? We lost Mike. Everybody. Did we lose everybody else? Can anybody hear me? All right. I think we lost Mike. I do not think it was us. But I'm going to go ahead and hang up the phone. We're going to have to get going here. We've been on the air for 2 hours and 20 minutes. If Bryce Underwood, look, I get Michigan people upset with me every time I talk about this. I love you, Wolverine. I do love the Wolverines. I don't love you. You're as evil as everybody else out there, except for Iowa and Wisconsin's a little bit more evil. I'm not a believer. Bryce Underwood is going to have to make me a believer. And if he's not the quarterback you all think he is, the Gophers are bringing home the little brown jug. I got a whole bunch of Penn State people upset with me because I went on a Golden Gopher propaganda rant when I compared the Penn State Lions to Minnesota. I got Penn State finishing ahead of Minnesota. I got Michigan finishing ahead of Minnesota. But I'm saying that Drake Lindsey's a better quarterback than Rocco Beck. Drake Lindsey a better quarterback than Bryce Underwood. I don't know. Now they've got more talent at some. They do have more talent than Minnesota at a few positions. I grant, and so does Penn State. But I tell you, if you're quarterback, Minnesota's going to lead the Big Ten in sacks this year. I think they did last year. They got everybody coming back this year. Carl Mentz, Anthony Smith. They got Bush, the great pass rusher from the California Golden Bears. Bryce Underwood, man, he's going to have to step up and he's going to have to deliver against the Golden Gophers. And by October 3rd, we're going to know if Bryce Underwood can do it. We're going to know if Bryce Underwood is a Big Ten quarterback. Because Drake Lindsey was better than Bryce Underwood last year. Washington's going to be a problem. I would agree with that. On the road to Washington. We'll see. Amazing Blue, Craig Creek treatment. And he's not a better quarterback than Bryce. He was last year. I get it. Bryce Underwood was a true freshman. Drake Lindsey was a redshirt freshman. But Lindsey was a better quarterback last year. And he did not have the running game. Minnesota was dead last in the Big Ten in rushing last year. They're not going to be dead last this year. They're not going to have both their running backs on the shelf. They're not going to have their RB2 with a broken leg. And RB1, Darius Taylor, is healthy. He's doing Pilates, for God's sakes. Darius Taylor is doing Pilates. There's not going to be any soft tissue injury. Let's go. All right. He could not hear me. That is interesting. The other phone calls could hear me. The call dropped on my end. All right. Okay. We're going to shut it down right now, Mike. But again, Mike, call anytime. Please, Mike. Please, I need a Golden Gopher that calls this national show. Please, I'm the only one who is willing and able to deliver the Golden Gopher propaganda. I need Mike calling this show. All right. Look, I'm gonna go through all the comments in the comment section, and I'm gonna start timing people out. I love the passion that you all have for your programs, but these personal attacks, it just can't happen. It just can't happen. It just can't happen. It's gotta stop, because you know why? I work way too hard on this show. And the people who go in the chat room are the true college football sickles. We talk about everything in college football. We have Spotlight, where I'm giving you information that I don't think anyone else has. I work way too hard. You want to rip on each other's teams and everything, but once you start saying that you're dumber than I thought you are and all these personal attacks, I'm gonna have to say bye. I cannot have the chat room dominated by a handful of people who just want to argue all day and give each other personal attacks. It ain't gonna happen. Or I'm not gonna have this show anymore. I mean, it's not worth it to me. Really, it's not. I have seen it way too much in this chat room. We've had a great off season. The channel is growing. So many people love the I Do Declare competition, the Spotlight, the Holy Smokes Theater. All this stuff that we are delivering to you we cannot have the chat room dominated by things that we're not talking about here. It can't happen. All right. I appreciate you all joining us. I hope you join us tomorrow. Keep your head on a swivel. Buckle up. Brace for impact. Tomorrow's live show is going to be probably even more livelier than today and the day before. We are going to try to live stream the Senate markup of the Cruz-Cantwell bill protecting college sports act. So you might see me on here early tomorrow morning live streaming that. I might try to start it early. Who knows what's going to happen? Make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell so you know when we're coming on live next. That's all I can do. That's all I can promise. We've got other information that we're sitting on that we got to clarify. We got to make sure. A lot of stuff is happening. So thank you for joining us. Until next time, all of us at Peek Around the Corner, we'll see you tomorrow. I do want to thank Noel Berman, Mullen After Dark, John Grove, Christopher Hooter, Daniel Gorby, and Larry Andrick for your donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Very much appreciated. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. And always, God, family, Golden Gophers.